There we go. All right, so we are live on YouTube. So for those that are following along with us on YouTube, welcome to the next session here. Obviously, Antonio, your host. Probably by the time this is all said and done, you'll be sick of me here, but I've got Brett here. So we're going to be talking about COVID-19 and what that means for optometry jobs and the job market. We're going to go live on CovalentCareers in probably 10 seconds. And it looks like we're now live. So we're live on CovalentCareers, live on YouTube. So welcome everyone who has been following along with us all day throughout the day. We're talking COVID-19 and the state of optometry jobs. Brett here, of course, you might have heard us earlier, kind of just with the welcoming remarks. We were going to be talking about this today. So we talked a little bit about this yesterday as well. So you can check out that session. But you know, I thought it'd be important to talk a little bit about jobs. A lot of people are asking about that. Obviously, Brett, you've been fielding questions day in and day out. So, you know, let's just jump right into it. And, you know, before we jump into it, I've got a secret code for everybody who is doing the raffle, right? So one of these Easter eggs, so to speak. The Easter egg, you should write this down and enter it in the raffle area, is SOLO, S-O-L-O, SOLO. So write that one down and you'll get additional entries into our raffle. So let's jump into it, Brett. You know, what has the current state of hiring and jobs been over these last few weeks? And you know, where do you think things are going in the next few weeks and months?
Yeah, just before we jump into that, you know, just before we started this panel here, you had told me that the Easter egg codes were different than the one that you just said, which is pretty funny. But what that cues to me is that there's more Easter egg codes coming later. So anybody watching, there's definitely more codes out there that Antonio will be providing throughout the day.
We'll give you guys a hint. There's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more codes.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
stay tuned. And, you know, that's why I've got a list that I'm scratching them off because I get them mixed up sometimes. But go right into it, Brett.
Yeah, so I mean, when we're talking about jobs, first place we should start is what's going on in the industry. And I have our industry tracker, our live updates from the impact of coronavirus here. And since March 9th, we've seen in the eye care industry, I'm not sure if you've seen these stats before, but we've seen a 96% decrease in total exams per week. We've seen a 95% decrease in new patient exams per week. An interesting stat here actually is we've only seen a 61% decrease in contact lens purchases per week. That tells me that people may still be shopping online for contacts, or they may even be going into offices just to pick up contact lenses. I know there are practices staying open both for emergency care, and then also if patients need to either pick up glasses that have already been made for them or contact lenses, things like that, the practices will open up to accommodate their patients for those type of things. Frames sold per week down 92%, lenses sold 93%, and then boxes of contacts 69%. But what these stats tell you, obviously, is what we already know, is that practices have been closing. And since practices are closing, one of the shifts in focus has been away from expansion to just essentially making sure that their practices are able to open up after the shelter-in-place orders and the social distancing starts to subside. What we've seen in the hiring space is about a 40% decrease in the amount of open positions available, which tells me that there are definitely companies out there that are still hiring. They're still preparing for the future. One of the interesting things is that people are going to be looking for the services that they were not able to get, including eye care, after the social distancing orders and the shelter-in-place orders start to subside. Like, for example, I know one of the first places I'm going to go is to the barbershop and get a haircut because it's been so long since I've been able to do that. But that's going to be the same sentiment for people thinking about eye exams and going to the dentist and doing those routine things that they do every single year.
Yeah.
So we do anticipate that exams are going to start to pick up, just like people are talking about V curves and J curves in the economy. Most likely in the eye care space, it could potentially look more like a V curve, but there's still that potential to look like a J curve. It just all depends on how quickly things open up and how fast new prescriptions come in for treating coronavirus. So what we're looking at in the job market is likely going to be something similar, where we're going to see this J curve. We're going to see a nice big U come in, where a lot of practices who are currently looking to either open new stores, or they're looking to add on staff, like organizations like My Eye Doctor, National Vision, Shopco, they're all exhibiting in the exhibit hall today.
And
If
they're
you go,
hiring right now too, right, Brett? Is
that's
that
correct.
correct? So there
Yeah,
are
that's
some
correct.
companies, because that was a question that came up in our discussion, in our last discussion around finances, was that, man, I'm worried, I might default on my student loans because I can't get a job.
Mhm.
And but there are some organizations that are still hiring, currently hiring, right? And I didn't mean to cut you off there, Brett, but I think that's an important thing to just kind of shout out. So, definitely look into, there are opportunities, just because a lot of organizations aren't hiring, or, small offices aren't hiring. There are many that are. And, kind of going into what you're saying, Brett, that, people are still hiring now because there is going to be a demand, at some point.
Yeah, that's right. And if you think about what the supply and demand curve was coming into this, there was much more supply of jobs than there were of optometrists. It's very easy for an optometrist to get a job. So still, that curve is going it's equaling out. The supply is going to be able to meet a demand. If I was an optometrist looking for a job right now, I think my concern level would maybe be a 2 out of 10, that I wasn't going to be able to find a job. Now, granted, when is your start date going to be? That's going to all be dictated by policy. It's not really going to be dictated as much by the practice looking to bring someone on. It's going to be more so dictated by when our practice is actually opening up. So I think that's going to be your main factor there. But yes, there are so many companies still hiring. All of the larger organizations, or the majority of the larger organizations, are still hiring. Some organizations were hit particularly hard, like the ones that are located inside of malls, because all of the malls are closed down. Mall foot traffic went to essentially zero, right?
Yep.
So those organizations got hit particularly hard. But what I would recommend, obviously, is going into the exhibit hall and going to each of the booths and just talking to the hiring managers there. They're going to know what jobs are available. There are organizations that are hiring, and they will bring you on, and they will contract you with start dates as soon as, the middle of May to June to July. So if you are a student who is going to be taking the board exam, and that board exam has been pushed back, they still will accommodate you and push back your start dates further to accommodate the fact that you still need to take the boards and get your license.
Yeah, we've got a couple good questions coming in here, Brett, that I definitely like to answer. We've got only about 4 minutes or so left before we jump into the next session, but we did an entire kind of in-depth discussion on this very topic yesterday. So you will be able to view that session and all sessions from yesterday. We're going to release a playlist on YouTube with every single event from yesterday. So please look for that, and you'll be able to watch those sessions. But kind of going into the questions that I'm seeing here in the chat here, Brett, someone's asking here, hey, I wanted to go into private practice, but 2 practices that were about to send me contracts to read over are unable to hire at the moment. Should I only look at bigger corporations? And kind of, I guess to give my thoughts on it, it's one of those things where, I guess it depends on your situation, right, Brett? I'm not sure what advice you have.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely continue to look at private practice. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity right there in private practice coming up after things reopen. There are going to be practices that are basically going to be, well, I'll call it trading out doctors, because they may have furloughed a doctor, and that doctor that got furloughed may have gotten a job somewhere else. So these private practices are going to be hiring on doctors. If you're looking for private practice, you should definitely continue to look into private practice. My recommendation, though, would also be to look into the larger organizations, because typically those are organizations that would have had the ability to handle something like this, handle a crisis with cash reserves, or the ability to get credit from banks or things like that. The other thing we are seeing, which is very interesting, and I guess I'll call it unfortunate as well, is that we are seeing offers decrease as well. Companies are protecting that the long term, and the offers that may have been 140,000 per year, we're seeing those come down to 120,000 per year. So you may see that as well from both small and large corporations.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly continue the discussion. I highly recommend, if you have additional questions here, head over to the Covalent Careers booth. You can chat with our team there. Just ask questions, of course. In general, there are, like Brett had mentioned, there are organizations that are hiring. Check out the exhibit hall, go into their booths, talk to their team members. You can do a live chat and find out if there's opportunities in your area. And so make sure you check that out. We are going to be jumping into our next session with a organization that is hiring, actively hiring, National Vision. You can check out the talk in their booth. We're going to be going live in about 3 minutes there. So you can learn a little bit about the state of affairs there, what it's like practicing there, and understand a little bit about potential opportunities. So we'll see you in there. And later on today, we've got another talk as well with another one of our exhibitors, My Eye Doctor, who will also be discussing a little bit about, the My Eye Doctor organization, and they're also actively hiring. But everyone in the exhibit hall is hiring. So, take a look, check out the booths and connect there, and maybe you'll find your, a good opportunity. But
Yeah.
until then,
I would definitely recommend going in and chatting, because this is a unique opportunity where you do have these companies on standby that are able to answer your questions live at the event. So take advantage of that chat, jump into their booths, just click the button in the right-hand corner and you can start a chat and ask them any questions you want there.
Yeah, and we've got another good question that I would ask. Why don't you jump into the Covalent Careers booth and connect with one of our team members there? It's just about delays on obtaining a license. Some state boards have been less responsive, and in addition, testing centers for the logjam have been closed down. What do we do? So we've got to jump, but head over to Covalent Careers and our team will be happy to chat with you and try to guide you through that one. So we'll see everyone in the National Vision booth here. We're headed there next. And one last Easter egg for everybody before we split. And the code word, the additional code, the new code, not the one I opened this talk with, but a new one, is vision therapy. So write that down and enter it, one word, vision therapy. See you in the next booth, everybody. National
Take
Vision.
care.
See you there. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Antonio.
How do you check in? You can simply just press the check-in button automatically in every booth.